Hello, everyone. This is Piero San Giorgio. Today, I have the great pleasure to have back Aaron Clarey. Aaron, how are you doing?
Hello, hello, hello.
We are on November 29th, so you must be recovering from Thanksgiving in the US.
Yes, lots of food and some unhealthy. And but no, it was fun. It was good classical American Thanksgiving with family and all that. So it was a good time.
Family is important.
Mm.
Aaron, you're an author, writer, and you're also a consultant. You
Mhm.
teach people how to get along and get ahead in their lives. And I think since the beginning that you've been doing that, you help people to simplify the clutter that they have in their life.
Correct. Yes.
Uh, Today, you have a new book that came out a few weeks ago, a few months ago. I read it. I must have it here somewhere. Can you tell us a bit
Which
about
one is it? Was
this,
it
the very short one? Uh,
Oh yeah, that little Sanity is the future of wealth. That one there. Okay,
exactly.
yeah, that little essay. Yeah, it's what it is gosh, I wrote that about a year ago, and no one read it on my blog. So I decided I'm like, well, forget it. I'm going to put it behind a paywall, and I finally got around to publishing it. And so it actually did relatively well. And the the premise is it's not really a premise; it's just true. But um, if you look at the rate technology, economics, all that other stuff is going, we really don't have a lot of problems when it comes to wealth. Like we don't 98% of the population is not employed making their own food. We've wiped out different diseases. I mean, there are poor people. There always be poor, but a lot of it that is by choice. And so, what I've found that people are getting upset about and jealous of what all of politics is boiled down to is, well, somebody has a brand new Ferrari, whereas I have a regular Ford pickup. And if you look at it, the Ferrari is not that much better than the Ford. Okay, it's faster and it's nicer, but in the grand scheme of things, it does everything. The Ford does everything the Ferrari does. And I don't know why you're getting upset or why people get, especially more recently in the political climates in the world, are getting really upset about what is microscopic. It ultimately doesn't matter. And so what I found is these people, I break them down to producers and parasites, and I'm pro producer. And yeah, it angers me that 40% of my money is taken away, and three-quarters of that go to other people who frankly hate my guts and don't like me, and they're just jealous. But at the same time, what I'm starting to find is these people are absolutely miserable because they're obsessing about these things that really are not that important, and you have it just as good as Bill Gates maybe has a ship or a plane, but he wakes up the same day, he has the same food. And so what people are ruining their lives over is just this petty jealousy. And with everything bought and paid for, more or less, I'm not saying like we're in a communist utopia or anything like that, these people are losing their minds because all your worldly desires are taken care of, but they love their politics more than they love their own children, if they have children, more than their spouse. They've alienated friends just because friends didn't agree with them politically, and these people are just losing it and being very unhappy. And what I said is, okay, down the road, if we get to a post-scarcity where wealth is unlimited and we're always asymptotically approaching that, the only thing that's going to be remaining, aside from human qualities, traits like beauty and strength, it's going to be sanity, because all these people being conditioned and programmed, be it in the elementary schools or into college or by the media, they're being conditioned to replace love, their own religions, um, their entire value and purpose of life with their politics. So that's what that sanity is. The future of wealth is like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to starve. You're not going to starve. We have more than what we need, like you're saying. You probably want to get rid of some stuff. And I'd say down the road, at least, well, based on voting, at least half the people are just going to ruin their lives being insane because they're jealous. That's what the essay points out there.
Yes, and I really like the book, even if I don't agree with the premise that everything is going to get better, but still, even I turn it around. As you know, I write books that anticipate a world that is going to be much worse.
Right.
However, in a world that is much worse, you want to have sanity, and this is where I want to lead to the second I think news that you have, is that one of the ways to have sanity, even if it's a world that is going towards disaster, towards more poverty, towards more conflict, sanity is much more important than gold, is much more important than, of course, fiat currency that is worth nothing. And it's much more important than the luxuries, because sanity allows you to have real relationships, sanity and friendships and love and real stuff, and not the crazy one. So, of course, you need to put that under the red pill lens, sure. But being sane enables you that even better. And one of the elements of sanity that is fundamental, and this is where you are having a training course online for that, and I would like to really have your views on it, is that it requires a way of life that is much more simple and less full of clutter than the life that we are being sold, or even the American dream that we've been sold in the last 100 years. How do we get that? How do we become more simple?
Well, you practice minimalism, and I would say also stoicism. Those would be the two main philosophies. But the key thing is minimalism, and you just, by a certain age, you realize you don't need all this stuff. And you'll find out that happiness and love is more important than having nice things or living, sure, you'd like to live in a nice neighborhood or have a nice car, but it's ultimately not required for happiness. And I've had it forced on me because I was poor. I think everyone is poor, but when I realized, I don't know, I think it was like 23 or 24, I'm like, okay, I'm not starving. Yeah, I'd like to have more money, but if for anything, that would be for sanity as well, to have the security and the stability. But I don't go to the mall and go buy things. I don't want to go to them. I hate the mall. I don't want to go shopping. And it's like, no, I don't want to go. And so that's what you have to get to, is that point when I was like 23, 24, is to realize you don't need this stuff. You really don't. About the only thing money will do for you is provide you calm, peace, serenity, security, and stability. That's about the only thing it will do. And then beyond that, Bill Gates is not going to be any happier if he makes another billion or if he loses $1 billion. He has plenty. This isn't to advocate socialism or anything like that. But for people's point and purpose and happiness in life, let alone not squandering their life, I'd say it's absolutely key to happiness to become a minimalist, not an extreme one, to be a stoic, realize what you do and do not control. And just try not to get, let the theater of politics get you angry or jealous or hard as that might be. But the real thing is just like, hey, do you have kids? Do you love your kids? Awesome. You got something that most people who, maybe they got the money, but they don't have their kid giving them a hug in return. I got to have a good Thanksgiving with all my family. That was good. And once people realize that, it's pretty easy to implement the minimalism and to do without.
So where does one start?
Well, you could read the Stoics. There's plenty of books out there. There's a guy, Jacob Fisker Lund. He did the Early Retirement Extreme book. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. I have a book out there called Poor Richard's Retirement, which is kind of the same, except it was more about theory and philosophy behind retirement. His was more numerical. So there's like Dave Ramsey, although he's American. I mean, there's no shortage of people out there who have radio shows, podcasts, YouTube channels. They'll talk about. I mean, there's even a website, The Minimalists. They obviously delve into it a little bit more on the philosophical side. So that's where you can start. I have a seminar on minimalism. It's not open. It'll be open in 2021 once New Year's resolutions and all that come in. But it's a course on minimalism. And that's expensive. Ironically, it's $500, but that way people are forced to pay attention and do it. But for now, yeah, I mean, just go on the internet and there's plenty of resources about it. My philosophy, and which I put into that class, that delves way more into human psychology and addiction and human evolution. So I think that's the new stuff that I'm contributing, because I wanted to address it on a genetic level, and I think I did that pretty well. But yeah, for now, it's one thing for me to say, stop spending more than you make, but you need to, okay, how do we do it? And then there's like instructional videos, and there's programs like Dave Ramsey has a program. But the first step, just start listening to podcasts on minimalism, or read a book, and that'll set you down the path.
And how did you start it?
Because I was poor. It was fun. I didn't have a choice. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna forget it. I'm not buying that Ferrari today. No, I was a poor college student. Parents didn't have any money to help me, and I had to be a minimalist. I remember, I had a 1-bedroom apartment, and we shared it with a buddy of mine. And what else? I wouldn't pay for parking. I have a bike. I'd bike all over the place. Budgeting your groceries, and working a lot, making sure that I didn't run out of money. But once I got through college, then you're like, well, I don't need it. I want that fancy thing I saw at the store, but not anymore. And so that's how it was. I didn't go seek it out. It found me pretty quickly at 18.
Very well. So how is that course that you offer online structured? I mean, without giving all what's inside, tell us, give us good reasons to go in. How is it structured? What are the key things?
It's got 2 parts: theory and practice. The official title is minimalism theory and practice: the key to success and happiness in life. So if you want, what you could do, it's on Teachable. Look for the Clarey School of Economic Philosophy on Teachable, and then you can log in. And then once you can log in for the school. But the class won't be offered until a month from now. But it's broken down into 2 parts: a theory and a practice. In the theory, we go into what is minimalism. I then talk about its counterpart, materialism, why humans are materialistic. Well, we're programmed to be materialistic. And then I go through some pretty good philosophy and stoicism and Spartan living and all that on how to deprogram yourself from that. And that's kind of that's the real value of the class, I would say, is taking that class, that part. And then the second part is a practicum, and it's nothing exciting or sexy, but there are things that you can do to cut your budget, spend less than you make. A lot of it's common sense, but then there's some tricks in the trades I've come up with, growing up myself and doing that. And so things like, not moving 3 times because you have to pay realtors fees. Find out where you want to live first and just move once. Everyone in New York should just move to Florida. I don't know why they stay in New York and buy a Philadelphia. It's like, just all of you from New England go to Florida. That's where you're going to end up anyway. So it's things like that. So the theory will get you there, and the why give you the spirit and the soul to do it. And then the practicum is just like, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do this, I could do that. And then in theory, you have the incentive and the know-how, and all of a sudden you're saving money instead of borrowing money.
Yeah, interesting. And now, as you know, I write books on survivalism, and one of the actually correct criticism that one can make on many survivalists is that we tend to accumulate a lot of stuff, whether it's guns or stuff that we store, food, everything. We all have the tendency, because maybe we have this anxiety about lacking of it, we tend to accumulate way too much. And so this is a tough market for you to address, and yet we need to simplify our lives. How would you, if you would do this teaching or do a conference in front of a survivalist or prepper audience, what would you tell them in terms of what is necessary, what isn't? Because the whole philosophy is about having stuff and doing things in case it's lacking.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with you. Like, yeah, have several guns. I have well over 3,000 rounds of ammunition. I have about 3 months of stored food. That's the whole point of prepping in survival. And this is not a foolish or immature thing. It's very wise to prepare if for any other reason an emergency happens. So I wouldn't disagree or say, oh, you survivals have 6 months of food. It's like, good, you got 6 months of food. Where I think the line comes in is whether it's frivolous or not. And prepping is an insurance policy. That's not frivolous. That's actually quite wise. So I don't think I'd really, it depends, like, how many ramen noodles do you need? I mean, one thing I would say is like, okay, look, you can only fire one gun at a time, maybe a pistol, a carbine, and a scoped rifle. I don't know what else you need, but, I know people like their guns. But then I'd say, is it frivolous? And if you buy, this isn't to say don't live life either, but you don't need to go out for sushi every night. You don't need the super big screen TV. You don't need all the fancy clothes. And I think that's where preppers and survivalists are a little bit more logical. I don't think there'd be a lot of people having to declutter their homes or anything like that. But I would not shame or say, oh, you should. I hope you have a lot of iodine pills and water, because the thing is, we have this convenient thing of stores like Walmart or Target or whatever is over in Europe, and they keep our stuff there for us. We just got to go and get it. And so it really frees up. We don't need that much square space to live in and store our stuff, because Walmart stores it for us. But when it comes to a post-apocalyptic world or a crash, there ain't those stores anymore. They're not making stuff anymore. So absolutely, yeah. If you're a prepper, survivalist, absolutely get your stores and your inventory up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Good. Well, yeah. And as far as the frivolous one, now, if you address, a lot with the 2020 COVID crisis, a lot of urban people have left, and are suddenly realizing that what is frivolous is not the same in the countryside or in the city, and in the opposite, what is absolutely needed in the city is not what is absolutely needed in the countryside. Now, would you say that people who live in the countryside have a more simple life, or what are the traps that you can still fall into when you move to more rural areas?
Well, one thing would probably be your social life, especially if you're a younger person. You and I we're middle age, so we're, I don't need to go partying or night clubbing anymore, and I'm okay if you got your wife, or you got your girlfriend or your significant other or family. That's one thing. So the social living I used to live in Wyoming. There's nobody out there. I mean, and so it's like, yeah, there's not that many people. The social life is definitely one thing. But in terms of survival or minimalism, no, you're usually going the right direction. Then your housing costs are lower, your insurance costs are lower. I think there's no traffic. It's like you're going in for I wouldn't say a retirement stage of your life, but you're dropping down. You're not running around chasing girls or becoming an investment banker and working downtown and going out for drinks. It's just a later stage in life where you're going to enjoy yourself and enjoy the peace and calm. So I don't think there's that many drawbacks actually to moving out to a rural area. I will say sometimes the culture can get a little. This is why it's really important that you have someone in your life. But some of these they're very backwards, especially Wyoming. It's no shock that I hate Wyoming with like a passion. But that was because of meth and drunks and fights and everything. So that's another drawback of the rural area. But for the most part, yeah, anyone who wants to save money or simplify their life, going to a more lightly populated town would be better.
Yeah, I agree. So your seminar is going to be available in January.
Yep.
Is there already a link so that people can subscribe to get a reminder or go to a mailing list?
Yeah, there's if you go search that school, the Clarey School of Economic Philosophy, and it's on Teachable. I think that phrase, you'll find it, and there's only one class I've put together.
Okay.
And so you can sign up for the school, and then when I open up the class, I get your email, and I just send an email notification letting you know when the class is open.
Excellent. I will put the link just in the description of the video. I think it makes sense. It might interest me, in fact. Okay. And yeah, I look forward to that. And any other projects, any new books?
Well, you might get a kick out of this one because the ever eternal economist I am. I just finished my latest book 2 days ago. It's titled The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI of the Pursuit of Women. And so I have taken all, now it's American, US-based statistics, but it would have some interesting applications elsewhere.
Bad ROI.
And the numbers aren't good. If you're wondering, if it's not high, it's not. And it came up with, it was a really interesting intellectual exercise, because like, well, how do you measure this? So I came up with some interesting tactics and techniques and numbers, but it was pretty depressing writing it, and so I need to take some time off because it's pretty bad. And so that'll come out maybe within a week or so. Yeah, for Christmas time. But that one will be it will be interesting to say the least.
I will put the link because we have an expression. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but the expression here says that the woman you get for free are the most expensive, and the corollary is the least expensive are the one you pay for. So I'm really interested about that because I guess between the courting, the meals, the champagne, the cars to show off, the lifestyle you need to get so that you get the woman that you think you deserve. Woof, and then once you get them, then it's the cost, the kids, the inevitable divorce, because statistically you are running against incredible odds, so you will divorce. You will
not even divorce, but let's say you're married but you're miserable.
Oh.
I mean, that's I mean there was so many. I was doing the numbers and I'm like, it can't be that. I had to like go back and double check my math because we're getting into so many decimal points of fractions of 1%. I even hired an actuary to audit my figures and all that just to make sure. I'm like, does this make sense? He's like, yeah. So yeah, I'll tell you this: women are easily the most expensive thing men pay for in terms of time, money, psychology, mental energy, and it's all summarized and estimated, I think, pretty well in that upcoming book. But yeah, I think at minimum, everyone would get a pretty good laugh out of it. But then if you think about the figures, like, oh my God, that's so depressing. And so maybe wait till you're in good spirits to read the book. Don't read it.
No, for sure. I obviously haven't read it, but for sure it's quite interesting because now maybe a question that is silly, but hasn't it always been the case that women are expensive? Because men absolutely, most men, 99% of them, absolutely want and need, and we have this incredible drive that comes from and I'm talking about this little brain, to go and absolutely mate, because we have a program for reproduction, and that brain doesn't know that we have contraception. But suddenly we fall in love, we get infatuated, we get enamored, and we become crazy. And for anyone of us who can remember when he was a teen or whenever he falls in love, we become completely insane. And in a way, it's beautiful, but in a way, it's expensive.
And that's it's not a surprise. It's got to be that way. And you think, man, men have it depends on the numbers you want to use, but 9 times the sex drive of women. And thank God we do, because if we didn't have that, or women had the same sex drive as us, we'd outbreed our food supply.
Oh yeah,
because we'd all be, and it also incentivizes men to go build things and create things, because that's how we provide stability, support the family, and stuff like that. So nearly all of the historical global economic production has been because we like women. And the irony is, of course, genetics and roles and traditional sex roles were established over 2 million years. The irony is how this plays out then on economic production. Women are changing that now. They're going and working, and some of them are going into STEM and things like that. But if you look at it historically, it's like, okay, well, the women are taking care of the kids. There's still labor involved. But the men did everything, including killing each other and war, not necessarily good things.
Yeah, we're pretty good at it.
Yeah, and we're really good at it. Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. But yeah, it's when you look at the economic numbers and the data on terms like what price men pay, it is shocking. But I'll leave that for people to have to go buy the book if they want to see what those numbers are like.
I'm sure they're interesting, and I'm sure it's gonna play well to the red pill crowd, to the black pill crowd. For those who don't know, check out the different. You've been on Rollo Tomas's show a few times. He's an excellent has an excellent podcast, and yeah, well, maybe we'll talk about that in the new year to talk about that too, and we'll compare numbers.
Well, you give me your book, I'll give you my book, and we'll take a look because I'd really like to read your book then that you got coming out.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while to get out because it's the book is about managing your fears,
Oh.
fears and anxiety, which I think is really needed today. And of course, I chewed on a very big topic here, and so I come together with many experts, neurologists that explain how the brain works and why fear is actually a good thing, but why when it surpasses a certain level, it becomes. I'm making a very long story very short, and why it can become paralyzing to us, whether it's in work, in love, in facing illnesses, facing the media, facing paranoia. It's very difficult to manage. And then I lead always with interviews of experts in how you manage fear. And first of all, on a philosophical point of view, because obviously, if you don't understand why you fear death and what you can do about it, and indeed Stoicism there's going to be a very important chapter on that, because clearly there are things you can manage and things you can't. So Mr. What was the name? Covey, with the 7 Habits of Successful Life, has just been rewriting what for business what Stoicism was for, and Epicureanism was for your life in the old days, and for many philosophers. Clearly, you have to manage your fears of death, your fears of having meaning in life, and why are you bumbling around in this life for? Because after you've eaten, after you fucked a bit, and after you maybe had kids, then what?
Right.
And if you don't get these questions ironed out, and maybe accepting that there are no answers, then it's very hard to manage the religious thought, the mystical thoughts. It's very hard to be master of that instead of being the puppet of whoever control these organizations that will try to control you. And then it leads to how you live a more simple life, and then of course how you get good sleep, good nutrition, good exercise.
Oh, you're taking a real wide scope.
Oh yeah.
Philosophy and practice, but yeah, wow.
So fear is a big thing, and therefore it requires to be tackled in all aspects of life. So I chunked on a very big thing. I thought it would have been shorter as a book, but it's ending up being a very comprehensive book. So I still need about 6 months to finish it.
Okay.
And then it's translated in English, because this one I'm writing in I'm writing in French, but my novel comes out soon in English, so I will get you one. I will get you a copy.
Okay, cool. That'd be great. I'll give me something to read, because I don't have to write anymore. I'm not writing a book for a year. I'm done for at least a year, and I could go read
Good.
instead.
You'll like it. Anyways, Aaron, thanks very much. I put the links just below, and we'll chat again. And in the meantime, have a great end of the year, and because I think we look forward to this year to end.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, Piero. I appreciate it.
Take care. Ciao. Okay.